Hola, chicas. Welcome to Encuentras Your Voice podcast, where Latina voices are amplified by sharing their powerful journeys from ancestry to authenticity, giving voice to generations past, often silenced or erased, while showcasing the aha moment of our guests when they embraced their authenticity and soared into success. I'm your host, Consuelo Crosby, here with you every Wednesday at a new time in this season 8. Given our expanding global audience, con gusto, we are dropping new episodes just after midnight on Wednesdays. So no matter where you are in the world, we are together, leaning into the valuable stories that resonate with you, adding a place of belonging, and sharing resources that may help make life just that much easier. Plus, meet your next best amiga after hearing their story every week. As we kick off our big month of renewal and rebirth, please remember to give yourself grace. Listen deeply to the messages each of our inspiring guests is offering this month, because up front, they're going to sound like big doers, big success stories, big moves that might seem out of reach, because we tend to hear the words that whisper, we are inadequate, we're not doing enough, we have to be further ahead than where we're at. But no, the true gems of each of our inspiring Latinas this month are brilliantly reminding you that you are invaluable, that you are understood because each of our guests has been there. And as today's guest so lovingly reminds us, there is still life waiting for you, even after the deepest struggles. Miriam Diaz Gilbert, author of Come What May, I Want to Run, breast cancer thriver, artist, and multi-master's degree holder in ESL and theology, had a long career as a professor, teaching everything from English composition to English as a second language to world religions. Yet, it would be from this height that Miriam faced her greatest challenge of being professionally bullied. That sent her down a different path. Miriam is a very proud Puertorriqueña who continues to seek out the goodness in life and people with positivity and advocacy. Miriam's mother taught her very young in life how to stand up for herself, after a first grade teacher placed a sandwich board over her with the words Chatterbox in big red letters, and left her in the school hallway for everyone to see. To this day, Miriam refuses to let anyone silence her, taking Chatterbox as her focus for speaking out against wrongs and injustices. Miriam was born with attitude to keep moving on, yet when a sudden breakup left her distraught in college, she turned to the one thing that would ultimately save her life: running. What started out as a jog around the block at night so no one could see her crying has turned into a career of ultra-marathon events, 42 of them, that do more than challenge her resilience after running literal days and more than 100 miles. These events, as Miriam says, are pilgrimages of gratitude, each mile in dedication to those who saw her through her darkest days, battling cancer and near death, and to those who are no longer here to revel in life. Yet the greatest takeaway today is the amazing courage Miriam gives us to continue in joy, leaning into la comunidad for support, and reminding ourselves we truly are not alone when a total stranger like Miriam is offering to help in any way she can. As Miriam gets set to start her 72-hour ultra event tomorrow, April 10th, let us bring her our best energy forward. Settle into your cozy spot and get ready to meet your next best amiga. Welcome to Encuentras Your Voice podcast, Miriam. I'm so happy to have you here. Your story is, the epitome of resilience as we are celebrating this month. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Consuelo. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really glad that our paths crossed on social media. And thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Great. Yes, we were both on, which is how you found me and reached out. More Than Your Age podcast.
That's
Erica
right.
Pasvar, thank you. Thank you for connecting us. We love this. I just kept going, no way, no way, no way, when I leaned into your story. I just don't know how you did it. And we will get to that. It's very exciting. We will get to that. But as we always do, our very first question off the bat is asking you to share your family story as part of bringing our ancestors forward to this current day in our Latinidad diaspora.
That's wonderful what you're doing and providing this platform for us to share our heritage, our story. I'm a Puerto Rican, born and raised in Connecticut. My parents met in Connecticut. They're both from Puerto Rico. I had a really beautiful childhood. I have 3 other sisters. I'm the oldest of 4. I come from a working class family. My parents were both laborers, hard workers. My mother was a dress finisher for the International Ladies Garment Workers Union. And she was a dress finisher, and my dad was a laborer, and he drove a van. And one of the things that was stressed in our family was educación, educación, educación. Okay, education is key. My mother, she's one of 8, and so is my father. And my mom is the youngest, and she's the only surviving sibling. She's 99, my mother.
Oh, God bless.
God bless. Yeah, God bless.
Amazing.
99, and my dad is a little bit younger. He's going to be 96. My mom left Puerto Rico when she was 24 after both of her parents passed. And
so
they passed,
young.
6 months apart. And she went to New York City, where she lived with my godmother, mi madrina, Amelia, and they were ahead of their time. They came in the 50s. I was born in 59, and she was living in New York City for about 5 years. And then she moved to Connecticut, where her older sister and her husband and their family lived. And so I grew up with cousins. We did everything together. My aunt and uncle owned a grocery store. And so I remember very young in the summers working. I was like 10 years old, but I was very tall for my age. So I was working at the cash register, the old-fashioned cash register, where you actually had to know how to count change.
You weren't given the answer.
No, and we had to figure it out. So being firstborn comes with a lot of responsibility.
As the daughter, firstborn daughter, let's clarify.
Firstborn
daughter.
And so I'm the firstborn daughter. So I was like an adult right away at birth, or right away. And I learned from observing my mother, observing my aunts, my uncles. And I had to set ejemplo. I had to the example for my siblings. And then we spent every single summer before I was born. In gestation, we were going to Puerto Rico every summer. And so I grew up with relatives in Puerto Rico on fincas and growing up in the countryside. And we spoke Spanish at home, but we also spoke English. And I cannot remember which came first, the chicken or the egg. When I went to school, there was no such thing as bilingual education back then, or English as a second language.
Yeah.
But none of us had any problems with the English language, but we did speak Spanish at home. But amongst ourselves, our siblings and our cousins, remember one day I was with my cousins and we were just chatting in English in the living room at my aunt's house. And she enters and she says, ¿Quién es Miss America aquí? Who's Miss America here? And we're like, okay, because Miss America, she speaks English and no one here is Miss America. So you should all be speaking Spanish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I never forgot that. So the language was really important. Many times I was, for my mom, maybe the interpreter, the translator. But my mom was very smart. She only had an 8th grade education. And that's because to get to high school where she was, she had to walk 5 miles. And
Lord.
so she stayed behind My father, on the other hand, he lived in a more urban little town next to Ponce, Peñuelas. Mommy was from Utuado, and he has a high school diploma. Yeah, high school education. He is a Korean War vet. I'm so proud to be Puertorriqueña. I'm a proud Puerto Rican. We're beautiful people because we come in every color, in every hue. Okay?
Yes.
We didn't grow up learning to not like people because of the color of their skin. And so
You couldn't, right?
It was like, we're just mixed. We thought the world was like this.
Oh.
And then you go to schools or the workplace and you realize that you're treated differently because of the color of your skin. And I can tell you that I can write volumes on white privilege because people think I'm white.
I could see that.
Que soy gringa, que soy blanca. And no, I'm not. In fact, growing up, I went to public school and I was so smart that I got a scholarship to a private school, a girls' school. And I remember some of my friends telling me, I'm not Puerto Rican. I remember one day, I must have been in 6th grade or 5th grade, rummaging through my mother's drawer in her bedroom.
Cuidado.
And so she had a box, and I'm like, I'm going to get this box. I was looking for my birth certificate.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
I wanted to see if I was adopted. And Mommy caught me. She goes, Dad, what are you doing? I said, Mommy, kids in school, they're telling me that I'm not Puerto Rican, but I am. Are you sure I'm not adopted? And she just started laughing. When we used to Puerto Rico every summer, people would say, tú eres americana.
Yeah.
I guess what they mean is that I come from the United States, which is true. But
I think it has a little more connotation to that.
Yeah, but I don't see myself as
No.
or Americana or white
Gringa.
Anglo-Saxon or gringa. Yeah. And so we're happy people. We're oppressed people. The damage that the United States government has done to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, she has never been independent. She was first colonized by the Spanish. And then maybe for an hour she was free after the Spanish-American War. And then, boom, where you can read old journals. And I remember a general, I don't remember his name, an American general. He was there invading and describing Puerto Ricans as ignorant and savages.
Oh, yes. I just recently read that. It came up in social media. You've gone through a lot in your lifetime in having this beautiful start, a huge immersion with your familia. You get questioned in that growing up as a child.
Yeah.
And you're feeling left out of sorts. And then you get into adulthood and you lean into the Latinas and they're like, no, you're not quite that. So you're just like sometimes caught in this middle.
I can't win. I can't win.
Except you do win.
Yeah.
That's what we love about this episode so much is this seems to be a constant little thread running in your life, no pun intended.
Yeah.
And that you come up against these challenges that are very personal. There's pure identity on this one. And yet you don't let it ever stop you.
No. Everybody else can do what they want and their dreams and their hopes, and I'm going to do the same.
Where did this come from, though? You were born with it?
My mother. Mommy, she taught me about being independent and always speaking, or don't let anybody silence you. An example. For some reason, my first grade teacher did not like me. It may have been that I was just a little bit taller than her. Okay. And I was like super smart and I did all the busy work. So I would get bored really easily. I wasn't challenged. And two things happened. One time, and I was like a fast reader. I could read. This is like not hard. My report card came home and it was like the second marking period. And she entered an I for reading, meaning incomplete. She can't decide whether to give me the A, the B, but she gave me the incomplete. I didn't know what that meant. But Mommy knew what it meant. So what does Mommy do? She takes time from work where she's not going to get paid for hours that she work. Okay? Mommy's, I think, 35 at the time. She comes in. She said, I'm taking you to school and we're going to speak to your teacher. And I'm going to ask her about what this I is. And I remember watching my mom. And of course, as you don't interfere with the adult, you don't interrupt her when she speaks.
Yeah.
In her accented, broken English, she asked my teacher, why does Miriam have an I? Miriam can read. And of course, the teacher wasn't expecting a Puerto Rican mom to challenge.
Yeah. Right?
And she says, Miriam can read in English and in Spanish. Change this grade.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, yeah. And Mommy watched her the whole time. Yeah. And then she said, now take it to the principal's office and let the principal.
Yeah. Oh, damn. We need Mommy in charge of the country.
And at that moment, I looked at Mommy and I said, she taught me about speaking up for yourself.
Yes, she did.
I could not speak up for myself because I was 6 years old in first grade. And that same year after that, again, I was bored. And I'm chatting with my friends. And Miss Schuster would say, Miriam, stop talking. And I'm like, okay. And then again, I said, she says, one more warning. I said, And then she got me. She said, Miriam, come with me. Oh. When we followed her, she took me to her closet with all her pencils and papers, and all of that. And she put a big sandwich board over my body with red letters that read, I am a chatterbox. And then she put me in the hallway.
Oh.
Okay. And it was wintertime, so all the coats were hanging outside. Yeah. And Miss Boyle, the principal, walks by with her pointer or yardstick, walks by, and she just walks by. She says, Miriam, what are you doing out there? And I said, Miss Schuster says I'm a chatterbox. But I said it with such pride. Yes, I'm a chatterbox. That's a good thing to be. And she says, and how long are you going to be out there for? And I said, Miss Schuster said 10 minutes. She goes, all right. I realized, reflecting as I got older, that people have tried to silence me, but I won't shut up. One way or the other, I'm going to get it done. And maybe it will be very painful. And I will endure a lot, but you cannot silence me. Yeah. So for my mother, that's where I got it from. I got it from Mommy.
What a beautiful witness, though. Don't mess with the Latina mom and her child.
So early on, I have been teaching my 2 kids who are now adults and have their own children. And I told them, you need to fight for those who cannot speak for themselves. Do not acquiesce. And my kids have been doing that ever since.
Wow.
Yeah. And they know their Puerto Rican heritage. They know how to speak for the voiceless, speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, and advocate for them. Yeah,
this is the side of anybody's heritage, but we tend to all have that thread running through us. And this is the side that isn't seen for the power that it can hold.
Yeah.
For everybody. Like you say, we don't see each other in little groups. We don't isolate each other. Right. We see humanity. We see the joy of being human and taking care of each other.
I'm a writer. I also did some consulting work and some cross-culture sensitivity training. I did in hospital settings.
Okay.
And I remember this one hospital, they have a lot of Spanish-speaking patients, but the staff isn't necessarily Spanish-speaking. And so they asked me to come in, do some cross-culture sensitivity training, and I have hospital experience, cultural experience, and all of that. So I used to love doing it. And one day, a woman walks. She has a bright yellow T-shirt, really bright, with huge black lettering that says, "Welcome to America. Now speak English."
Oh.
Okay.
Where do you find all these people in such a short life? Then
I realized,
wow,
we have an unhappy camper. So I didn't say anything about her shirt. I didn't say anything. I just shook her hand. Hi, I'm Miriam. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you could make it. I said, listen, I'm going to need some help. In this training, in the afternoon, we do role playing, and I film, and then we go over the role play. But I need an assistant. I need someone with the movie camera to put it on the tripod for me. And if you don't want to participate in the role play, would you be willing to be my assistant?
Okay.
And she said, yes. I said, thank you very much. And that was it. She was expressing herself, and I welcomed her expression, but I'm not going to say, get out of here with that nasty shirt. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
The session was beautiful. There were 25 people, and I put them in groups and stuff. They just learned so much about each other, about the human condition, about the role of language, about the role of culture in healing and medicine and treatment and all of that. So at the end, she comes up to me and she says, I just want to say, I'm so glad I came to this workshop. I learned so much from it. I'm going to take this notebook of readings that you gave to us, and I'm going to share it with my department, and I'm going to tell them to sign up for your next workshop. I said, yes, I've never seen that shirt. Where did you buy it? And she says, I had it especially made for today.
Oh, for the workshop?
Yes. And I said, may I ask how much you paid for that? And she said $30. And she apologized. She says, I'm sorry. I wore this shirt. You have taught me so much. And at that moment, my job was done. If I can form one person and say she's going to then take it to her department, and she's going to say, you know what? I walked in with a horrible shirt. I was being a racist is what I was. And just because you can't speak English, I've learned that you're still human.
Yeah.
You're a patient, and we still have to take care of you. And I have to embrace you, and I have to accept you for who you are and work with what you bring to the healthcare setting. That was such an experience for me, but that's the type of person I am. If you feel very strongly about something, okay, that's your worldview, that's your experience, okay? But let's see how we can work together.
Okay, we know where this resilience comes from. We know where the fire comes from. But you bring it in such a beautifully empathetic way to really bridge communities together. And impactfully so. We need you more present this day.
Mm.
But then, where does the running come forward?
The running.
Because you are the ultra-marathoner.
Another memory.
This is the Latina narrative. This is the stories that go untold and unheard, therefore. But you have this beautiful ability to communicate. You're a writer. You were a professor in the universities. So you have this very prolific oratory skill that doesn't necessarily translate to the athlete that you are.
Yes. Let's see. I was always an athlete my entire life. I started to play sports in 6th grade. When I went to the private school, girls' school, prep school, I played sports. We played basketball, softball, and field hockey. But I was a terrible runner. I was tall and lanky. I was this height when I was 13 years old.
Wait, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8.5".
Oh, that's very tall. Wow.
Yeah. So I lumbered when I ran, and the coaches made fun of me. I had the worst coaches. The worst. They were female coaches.
Oh, no.
They were the worst.
Ladies,
if they could
lean
see now,
in.
They were horrible. They didn't know what to do with me. But anyway, then when I went to college, I didn't play sports because I'm not that great. And I just want to focus on academics. Then my sophomore year, my heart got broken. Boyfriend broke up with me.
Oh.
I didn't see it coming, and I was devastated. And to heal, I started to run, especially at nighttime where no one could see my tears in the dark.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I was just running, and it felt really good. and I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I just kept running recreationally. And then I met my husband my senior year in a history class. And he was a very good cyclist. And we would cycle, we would go running together. And then I just kept running. And I ran up to the end of my first trimester with both of my children.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And I think that really helped with natural childbirth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my body was like, let's bring it on. I can take care of this, that kind of thing.
Okay,
And
also born with it, though.
yeah. And so I just
Long
kept running.
lineage of that.
Yeah. And I would come home after my daughter was born from a university job an hour away. And I would just go running. It snowballed from 5Ks to 10K, which is 6.1 miles, to 10 milers, to I ran my first half marathon when my son was 6 months old. As soon as he was born, I'm pushing him in the stroller. My breasts getting engorged with milk, that kind of thing. And
incredibly painful when you...
Yeah, and I was so excited to run the Hispanic half marathon in New York City.
So cool.
Yeah. So
I didn't know they had it.
Yeah, they don't have it. It was part of the New York Roadrunners Club. They have all these races, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then I did have marathons, about maybe 8, and then I could go longer. Like, I'm not fast, but I have endurance. I ran my first marathon when my son was 2 and my daughter was 6.
That was a quick jump from half marathons to marathons.
Yeah, I guess maybe a couple of years.
Yeah, less than.
Yeah. And then after that, when I was at another university position, I endured some workplace mistreatment. Let's just not sexual harassment, bullying kind of thing.
Yes.
And it was just such a stressful time for me. And at that time, I also decided, you know what? I love to learn. Let me get my master's degree. Let me get another degree. And this time in theology. Because I love God. And I love the saints. And I love religion. And I'm watching CBS 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
During winter break. And I'm in the sofa channel surfing. What am I going to watch? Oh, 60 Minutes. Oh, what's the topic? Ultra running. What the hell is that? And I'm listening to Leslie Stahl interview this man named Dean Karnassus and this woman named Pam Reed. And they're elite ultra runners who run 300 miles at a time and this and that. And I'm like, and at that moment, that was what I needed to get out of my funk. I needed a new challenge. Yes, I needed a new challenge.
Okay. I was going to ask, when did running come back to what you needed to overcome the next?
Yeah, that was at that moment, because when I was running the half marathons and the marathons, it's because I just enjoyed it. My family is growing. I have a dog. I'm rescuing dogs, and everything is good. My jobs are good. Blah blah blah. And then I have that period of just terrible how I was being treated and what I had to endure. Yeah, but that's okay. I got the last laugh, and that's what got me running ultra marathons. And I remember as soon as the interview was over, I couldn't wait to get on our desktop in our family room, and I Googled ultra marathon. And the first thing that came up was the JFK 50, which was started by President Kennedy as a 50-mile march for Marines.
Okay. I didn't know that.
It's the oldest ultra marathon in the country. Okay.
New York?
No, it starts in Boonesboro, Maryland, and goes through the Appalachian Trail, West Virginia, and then through the Potomac River in Virginia, and then back to Maryland. Yeah. I said, John, I just signed up for my first ultra marathon. He goes, what's that? I said, it's a 50-mile race, the JFK 50. And he says, are you crazy? You can barely finish a marathon. And then I said, just because you said I can't, just watch me.
Pure Latina.
Yeah, don't mess with us. Do not mess with us.
No, don't say we can't.
Oh, don't say we. So he got me so angry. I started sort of like
that was the match. What was already fueled was like, Torched.
Well, it's funny because the day came, the race is always the week of Thanksgiving, that weekend for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it was really cold and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I did it anyway. And they gave you 2 time limits. You can do it in 14 hours or 12 hours. I said, I'm not stupid. I'm going to go for the 14 hours. And my goal was to finish in 13 hours and 59 minutes. That was my goal.
Okay.
My goal is just to finish.
Right.
I finished in 12 hours and 24 minutes. And I walked the last 8 miles. I could barely move. It was so cold.
God.
But my family was there cheering me on. I dedicated a whole chapter at this event in my book. And at the end of the race, the announcers are calling the bib numbers and the names. And there's my family waiting for me. And this humongous medals gets placed over my neck. And John was just grinning from ear to ear. He was so happy that I didn't listen to him.
You proved him wrong.
That's right.
You proved him wrong.
As soon as I get in the car, we're going back to the hotel room.
Yeah.
I'm plotting and scheming my next one. And that's how it is. You just plot and scheme and plan your next one.
Even though you could barely walk through the last 8 miles?
I could barely walk. Oh, yeah. And it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, 50 miles is okay.
50
I've done
miles.
one marathon, and it was just because, they were having a party, and it was in Italy. I wanted a free flight to Italy. That is why I signed up for the marathon.
See,
it was run in Florence. It was enough. Very small carrots will make me do a lot of crazy.
Yeah. And so and then people say that people that run marathons, they're addicted. It's not an addiction. It's not an addiction.
No.
To me, it's a healthy practice. 2 different things. And I can't imagine my life without running. In fact, if I had not been running all of these years and all of these ultras, I would have never survived my medical nightmare in 2012. In 2012, right after my daughter was married, and 2 weeks before I'm going back to the university, and 3 days before I have a 24-hour ultra marathon, I had to schedule laparoscopic hysterectomy to remove massive fibroids. At the time, I was 53. And the doctor says, you're in great shape. You're physically fit. It's laparoscopic. We're not going to cut you open, blah, blah, blah. And because of a history of ovarian cancer in my family, my cousin died. Yeah. At the time, I was also working. I had just started my doctorate residency. So I was working on paper. And just 3 days prior, I had placed 3rd female in the 24-hour race. My first place, my first podium. And a week later, after the hysterectomy, it's summertime, and the Olympics are on. The Olympics in England are on. And I thought, it's such a beautiful day. Let me go out for a walk around the neighborhood. And I went out for a walk, and I just couldn't move. And I felt like I was going to faint. And I'm like, I know what's going on. It's just too hot. It's the heat. I go home, and I went to take a nap. And I don't think I ate dinner that night because I didn't feel well. 2:00 in the morning, I wake up in excruciating pain. I felt like it was being sawed in half. And I said, John, I don't know what's wrong. Anyway, he calls the doctor and they say, bring her in. So they had to do surgery. I was in the hospital for 14 days.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And I just kept leaking and leaking. And they told me it was normal because my organs were paralyzed from the surgeries. He says,
so what happened?
It gets worse. Sepsis was starting to set in.
Yeah, it was.
Everyone was in shock.
It's a miracle you survived a month with all that happening in your body and you didn't.
And what saved my life from other than prayers and my faith was all my years of running, all my years of ultra running. My body was in such good physical shape and my immune system was so strong. Plus, I'm Puerto Rican, so nothing bad was going to happen to me.
You weren't going to let that take you down. Like, no, get in line, sister.
Yeah, exactly. But the entire time,
Wow.
I lost 20 pounds.
Oh,
And not that I needed to lose weight, but my pants
no.
fell off. Oh, it was just a total nightmare. But the entire time, I just kept visualizing crossing the finish at an ultramarathon. Because when you run an ultramarathon, whether I've done 100-mile, by then I have been doing 100-mile ultramarathons. And my first timed marathon was 24 hours, and all my 50s and all my marathons and all that.
Yeah.
So I was enjoying an ultramarathon of a different kind. I got my strength from God. He's not the source of my pain and suffering. God is the source of my strength.
Just to clarify that with your ultra marathons
Yeah.
that you had been running, 50 miles, it's already ridiculous, 100 miles. But in that time that you are near death, because sepsis at that point, you are near death. And yet
But
the
I
one
don't
thing you're
know it.
thinking of is to go back and run those demanding
Oh, absolutely.
marathons.
Yes. In fact,
Most people would say, you know, I'm going to go to Tahiti and lie in the beach and just have pina coladas and be done.
no, I always have a goal. Always have a goal.
Okay.
And I'm just going to walk. And then I started to actually start running in March. I started to run in March. Slow and steady finishes the race. Okay. And I showed up at this 50-miler, a trail run, which is actually quite challenging in some parts. And I dropped after completing 26 and a half miles because I knew I would not make the next cutoff, 35-mile cutoff within the 8 hours. But I was just so happy that I did 26 and a half miles. My mind was ready, but my body was not ready.
Absolutely.
I was still healing. But I went back to that race 4 years later, and I said, oh, this damn race is so torturous. I walked like the last 8 miles, and I still managed to place third female in my age group.
Oh,
Yeah,
my God. Yes. Nah.
So,
yes.
you know, but the whole time, God is with me. It's my conversation with God. I have the saints with me. I have all those family members and friends who have gone before me, who fought hard battles with cancer and didn't make it. And if they're suffering, I think of Christ suffering on the cross, and my pain, my struggle at an ultra for 50 miles, it's nothing in comparison. So stop complaining. And that's one thing. I'm not a complainer. I'm not a whiner. I'll speak out, but I'm not a complainer.
Yeah, you speak out when it's real, when you're being wronged or when someone's being wronged. You don't even wait for it to be you. It's very empathetic. This is a lot. This is a lot all at once, and speaks to the resilience, speaks to the renewal. Just to keep up with listeners, when it comes to ultramarathon, you talk about timing. Can you collectively tell us ultramarathons can be anything over 26.2?
Yeah. The first ultra distance is what we call a 50K. That's 31 miles.
Okay.
That's 5 miles more than a standard marathon, which is 26.2. And then you have 50-miler, and then you have 100K, which is 62 miles. And then you have a 100-miler. Okay. And then you have multi-day races and timed races. So you can do a 6-hour ultra or a 12-hour ultra, 24-hour ultra, 48 hour. I have a 72-hour coming up.
Coming up?
Yeah, April 10th through the 13th. And it's on a track. So
okay.
The good thing about the track is that I can't get lost. And I can't fall and take tumbles on rocks, and there are no rivers to run through and no creeks and no pesky
get
woods.
bored? I guess it's like an Indy 500. Just going around.
No, you don't get bored because you're never alone. Because there are other runners and you have crew and
Wait, do you sleep?
You do. I take little naps, and then sometimes you sleep. Like I think the most I had a race is called a race for the ages. It's in Tennessee, the hot Tennessee sun, in a parking lot, in a jagged 1-mile loop in a parking lot under the hot Tennessee sun. It starts a few days before Labor Day and it ends on Labor Day. And you run as many hours as your age. So if you're 87, that person has 87 hours.
Stop. It should be inverted.
No. That year...
minutes.
Yeah. That year, I was 60, so I had 60 hours.
Oh, gosh.
And then after I did my 100 miles, it was my slowest 100 because it was so hot. And I was also worried or concerned because John was undergoing chemo for his first bout with stage 4 colorectal cancer.
Okay, what in this? Because I know the pain kicks in. I know even for my little marathon, I know the pain kicks in. I know the feeling of, like at mile 18, I think those last 8 miles are a thing.
Mile 18, mile 19, 20, that's when you hit the wall.
That's where I hit the wall.
Yes.
And I know you hit the, I don't think I'm going to do this. I almost don't want to do this because it becomes such a, are you kidding me? It doesn't matter that you've run 20 miles. You just can't do 6 more.
Sure you can. You did.
Obviously. Yeah. Then that Latina side kicks in and said, heck no, I'm not going to quit now.
No.
Like,
some poor soul is waiting for you.
They were waiting. Yes, my kids were waiting. There was we had a little cheering section waiting for us.
Right.
And you're right. There is something, and I want to speak to this to a bigger picture. There is something with envisioning a finish line.
Oh, absolutely.
How would you translate that to people who may in their own lives not be ultramarathoners or runners at all, but rather have that challenge in front of them? Visually, what does it look like to just envision a finish line?
You know what? For me, because I gave birth, I think of giving birth. If I can give birth and what comes out, birth is the most beautiful pain in the world for me.
I agree with that.
And so that was my frame of reference.
Okay.
When running marathons.
Okay. Yes.
So that was like giving birth, like new life at the end of the finish. But the thing is, you train. I have trained.
I like that. I like that. What you just said, new life at the end of the finish.
Yes.
I think that is the quote for this episode because that would apply to absolutely anybody coming up against that really hard challenge, trying to pick themselves up and keep going.
Yeah, life is there waiting for you. New life at the end of that finish line. And so that's why kooky people like me, ultra runs, as soon as we cross that finish, we're like, okay, let me sign up for the other one. Which is what...
No, that's just taking it to a whole other level. And we haven't even hit, there's more battles for you coming up. And so why does the constant battles that come up for you that want to stop you physically, why is it that the running is your first, no, I'm going to do this regardless of this medical issue, this like really difficult physical?
Yeah, I used to run trail runs, ultras. And what I love about running trails is that we are in the woods in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Truth.
So we are surrounded by peace and solitude. And so for me, it's a challenge, but you're with nature. It's like my cathedral for the duration of the race. And I stopped running ultras when John was diagnosed because he could not pace me, or what if I fell and hurt myself? I need to take care of him. But my ultra running has evolved into different purposes. So I ran the beginning for my own healing. I ran my first marathon to help me cope with what was going on in my place of employment, okay, and how I was being treated. I went back to that 24-hour race where I placed third female 3 days before my hysterectomy that went haywire. I went back the following year. That was part of my healing journey. Every mile was a mile of gratitude for all who prayed for me. And so I had a list of people and the saints and God. And I was just so grateful. That year, it was so hot. And I said, you know what? After about 65 miles, I said, you know what? I'm good at 65 miles. So I stopped at 18 hours. I had 6 more hours to go. But I was just happy that I was just filled with gratitude that I was still moving. And I was back in one piece. And then I kept running to maintain my good immune system, to maintain my good health, because all these years of running saved my life. I would not be talking to you today if I hadn't been in good physical shape. And then when John was diagnosed in 2018 with stage 4 colorectal cancer, I was running for his healing. Then last year, I fell while training for a 24-hour track ultra. It was a year ago this past Monday. I tripped over an uneven sidewalk when I saw a driver driving close to the curb. So I thought he was going to ask for directions. I thought he was lost. So I took my eyes off the sidewalk and I fell hard on my right side. And I got up. It's a good thing I have a good core because I just bounced back up pretty fast. And he didn't say a word. No word. He had glasses on. I didn't know what he looked like, but he had salt and pepper hair. He didn't say, are you okay? Do you need help? Nothing. And I said, do you need directions? I was mad. Do you need directions?
Yeah. You distracted me.
Yeah, I just felt hard. I'm bleeding to death here, and you're not asking me how I feel. And he just pointed with his index finger out, like over there. He didn't say a word, but I had this terrible pain on my right side, and I couldn't sneeze, I couldn't laugh, I couldn't giggle, and I couldn't sleep. And so I waited a week. I went to my doctor.
A week?
Yeah, because that's how we are. We're strong.
No, we don't want to be that strong. We don't need to be that strong.
I think you're right. I thought, maybe a hairline fracture on my rib or something like that. And it was like my breast and my rib. Maybe I have a internal bruise in my right breast, something. And then I said, you know what? I might as well also get that checked and get my mammogram. And they called me back the next day. I had to get another mammogram and I had to get a biopsy. They saw 12 microcalcifications, and that's early stage breast cancer. DCIS, Dr. Carcinoma in situ. Everything happened so fast. That was the last Monday in March last year. And I was diagnosed in April. And I went through genetic testing. Everything happened so fast. And then I was diagnosed 10 days before my next 24-hour track ultra. So I went to that track ultra.
You ran the ultra?
Yeah. I'm not running.
Like here, I can't even talk. I'm just like in shock.
No, I don't run with my breasts. I run with my legs, and my legs are good.
You.
So I said,
but they're bouncing around.
No.
And
yeah, but I knew what it was, and so I said, okay, I'm running. These are healing miles. This is a prayer for ultra. I need. This is, my little pilgrimage. I said, but they caught it early. And so
because of the guy who almost
ran
you over.
I was annoyed at him, but then I realized he was an angel sent by God to nudge me to get my mammogram. If I hadn't fallen, I would not have known.
Wow.
I was very lucky. Very lucky.
I call them angel drops.
Yes.
Angel drops. People come into your life, which is in a really obscure, and
he didn't say a word. It's almost like God said, that Miriam, she's got it. She's got that ultra coming up. I just got to nudge her a little bit. I'm going to give her a little pain.
Before she schedules the other one. Before she ditches her mammogram in October to run the next one. I
already had 2 races after that that I had scheduled. But
did you run those?
Oh, of course.
You ran all the races while doing radiation?
No.
What did
the
you
good
do?
news is they did the partial mastectomy.
Oh.
Because they caught it early. And my surgeon said there is no need for you to get bilateral mastectomy because we caught it early and it's not invasive. But that's the good news. You want to catch it before it becomes invasive. Right. I want to educate people about cancer, colorectal cancer, and breast cancer. And the other thing, it's not in my book, but I'm working on a cookbook about my eosinophilic esophagitis, EOE, which is a chronic disease of the esophagus where the white blood cells is trying to protect you. And in the process, they scurry from your bone marrow into your esophagus. And you also suffer food impactions where the food gets stuck and you end up in a hospital for an emergency endoscopy.
Oh, my gosh.
And long story short, I had a very damaged esophagus and I've had it for 26 years. And I said, what are the ingredients in the food I was allowed to eat and the food that I've been eating all my life? And what's in all these fruits and vegetables? Guess what? Pesticides, additives, food coloring, antibiotics, steroids, hormones, preservatives, food coloring. And I said to my doctor, you know what? No more. Stop giving me medications and stuff.
Yeah.
I have a theory. If I remove all these chemicals from my diet, I bet you I'm going to have a healthy esophagus. So for 8 weeks, I'm going to create my own diet, and I'm going to call it the Miriam diet because it doesn't exist, okay? And I ate 13 foods. We made all our foods. My eosinophil count was 100 on the fruits and vegetable diet because I was eating pesticides and insecticides. And on my diet, it was up to 0 eosinophils.
Oh, wow.
I healed myself. I write about it on my blog, my website, and people from all over the world have contacted me. And they keep asking me for recipes and a cookbook. So I finally...
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Brilliant. I'm sending out book proposals to help people heal because the chemicals in our food supply is making us very sick. Now, John doesn't have that problem, but I do because...
Wait, you have a sensitivity, though.
Yes.
And all through your life, that's a sensitivity. That's a brilliant book. I also feel that we were raised, a lot of us, with our mothers cooking very homeopathically.
Oh, yes.
Everything was from scratch. I cooked from scratch for my kids, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I still do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't eat manufactured foods, but now, like you say, even from scratch, even with organic, isn't chemical free.
Exactly.
It still has bad stuff in it.
You have to look at the labels all the time. And growing up in the summers in Puerto Rico, the first 18 years of my life, we were digging the yams from the ground and the chickens and the eggs and
everything's fresh.
Everything came from the tree. It fell and mango, everything. It was just.
And that's why your parents are 99 and 96. There's something to be said for that.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Let's touch on your book. We want to bring that forward. You wrote a book. It touches on a lot of things. It's your life story, but also what we've had on the discussion today, how running has kept you moving literally through your life against all odds.
Yes.
And so Come What May, I Want to Run is the name of the book. Where is this available for people?
It's available on Amazon, Bookshop, Barnes & Noble, and also the publisher, Whip and Stock. And if you go to my website,
which is
Miriam Diaz Gilbert.com, and go to my writing and memoir, everything is there. All the links to everything is there. Yeah.
And also the links for speaking towards this food and eating the correct food is on the website.
If you go to the blog, you'll see all my writings and about EOE, esophagitis, and some of my race reports. And there's a whole, if you want to know about my ultras, just click on the blog and also click on ultra running.
You have such an eclectic mind frame, but I also see you as someone who just has to figure things out, get to an answer, and then be done and move on and not linger on it.
Yeah, if I can fix
beautiful.
And if I know someone that is experiencing something, I'm like, this is what I did. Try it. And I like to help people. I like to bring people together. Maybe I can't help you, but you know what? I know someone who can.
There you go.
Kind of thing.
And how could people reach out to you then?
Well, they can contact me on my website, miriamdiazgilbert.com, my Facebook page, Ultra, one word, and then Miriam, the second word. And also on Instagram, Ultra Miriam, and on X and on Threads.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so lots of platforms. People can reach out to you.
Yes.
This is going to hit home, I think, especially right now, because I know that contamination in our foods is escalating, and the impact it's having on people is escalating. And the answers, like you said, are actually adding to the damage on all accounts. So
and
I'd love to see people talk to you on this. Yeah.
And I encourage people to start, you can start growing potatoes in just a bin. You don't need a big garden. This is our 8th year in our garden where we grow potatoes and carrots and tomatoes and strawberries and tons of oregano. I love oregano. And then we got hens so that I can have organic eggs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my husband is a wonderful cook. He cooks very good food. He's like the best Puerto Rican cook I know, and he's Jewish. But
that's like my husband. Total white Irish guy, but he makes the best paella. How is that possible?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you are saving the world. Definitely for our listeners, this is something that we're going to look forward to in the upcoming cookbook that's going to
I hope
heal.
So. Yeah, it's a memoir with all the recipes. I tell the story that inspired it.
Oh, beautiful.
Not just a plain cookbook, but the inspiration and the story behind the recipe and how it all got started.
I love the outlook of your life. I love the outlook of your life, the way you look at, I'm going to go after something, but I have a very personal and compassionate reason to be doing it.
It's not for me. I do it for others. I want people to benefit. If my book resonates with them and gives them hope and inspires them and tells them not to give up, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yes.
That's what I meant. See, it's my Spanish and English woman.
See. We are very grateful for you being here. We are grateful for your good health and
thank you
for telling us how much power the ultramarathons have for you and could for others.
Encourage others, but please do not start without building up endurance. Start small, build your way up.
No, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful journey.
You continue to do your great work and bringing us Latina women together, Hispanic women. Yeah. We have a lot to offer, and sometimes we get dismissed.
Often. Yes. Yeah. No, we're setting literally the story straight, and the narrative is ours, and it can't be erased or changed.
Right.
Thank you
and just
so
have
much.
fun and enjoy. Okay.
Enjoy when you're on that 70-second hour.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to take my time, and I'm older now, so I'm wiser, and I know what needs to be done.
That as we should throughout life.
Let's
just see how far we can go. Don't push yourself.
Exactly.
Lovely.
And enjoy. Keep smiling.
Felicidades, Miriam, and many blessings for a safe and empowering run this weekend. You have truly inspired us to never give up, to give ourselves grace in doing only what we can, and to love every precious moment of life we are given. Truly a story of rebirth and renewal. Think of us at the finish line, and we hope that keeps you going. Join us next week as we welcome Alejandra Rojas, Colombiana and founder of Brown Ways to Money. This episode is not about creating wealth for the sake of making money. Instead, Alejandra displays her transparency, admitting that even as a finance professional, she faced immense debt, leaving her distraught and feeling inadequate. Yet with the words of her abuelo echoing in her thoughts, Alejandra renewed belief in herself and forged into the next best version, never looking back and seizing the world as her playground. Alejandra shares how we all can gain financial freedom through 3 simple steps in order to live our most authentic selves. Imagine, what would you do with a new look on life and the freedom to go live it? Let us know in the comments on this podcast, wherever you listen on your favorite streaming platform. We appreciate your generous support by following and subscribing to us. We are one in humanity, and we want to share our goodness with everyone. They will not separate us. Step into your truth. Ciao. We love that you have subscribed to this podcast and continue to champion women who understand the life of all things Latina. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Encuentras Your Voice podcast so you don't miss a single episode. They will automatically drop into your listening device each week, and we'd really appreciate if you take a moment to add to the reviews that we already have. Tell us what you like, tell us what you're hoping to hear, and we will get there. Share this with your friends and family to help us grow our comunidad, and keep following us on our social media. To Encuentras Your Voice, we are so grateful to you for helping us grow this community and would love to learn of all the amazing Latinas who you know are creating the world we thrive in. So reach out to me on social media at Encuentras Your Voice, and let's keep leaning into our authenticity in pride. Help us make Encuentras Your Voice the place where you are 100% represented.